as we are loading here in the first series that I'm casting today, which is a ZVP actually. We don't have a PvP anymore. A surprise. And we start here in the top left corner of Lightshade LE with the red Zerg player, representing no team as far as we know right now. It is Bly.
And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Lightshade LE, we have the Russian Protoss player. He is blue, representing himself as well. As both of these players are teamless, it is Strange. Oh, and I apologize for that loud fanfare. So it does that sometimes. Speaking of loud, I would ask you to maybe raise your volume a little bit in Discord because yeah, it is still quite a little bit low there.
I'm gonna see if I can even do that because I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm on 100%. That's all it is.
Oh boy, we'll work with what we've got. As we are getting into our first ZVP of the European broadcast, of the European group stage. So we're done with the PvPs. That is it. We now have our ZVP. We now have our Zergs.
Yeah, and I'm very curious what Bly is gonna show, because obviously we know that Bly is not the most standard player we have. So I want to see those builds. But funnily enough, I checked like the match history between Bly and Strange, and actually it's not as one-sided as you would expect it would be. Like, Strange has some series over Bly as well.
Yeah, Bly is a very unique player. He's the kind of player who, obviously, he is known for his aggression, for better or worse, right? The problem with Bly is that he has a reputation, and everyone knows it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the thing is, like, it's aggression, but it's not always the same aggression as, like, other Zerg would do. It's just, the Bly style is the Bly style.
It is. Oh boy. So we'll see what he has in store for us here. So far, the openers are pretty standard. I'm just really curious to see how he plays this out. I'm sure Bly, like many other Zerg players, they do not want to go to the late game against Protoss. They do not want to go to SkyToss, and I'm sure he's going to try everything he can to end the game before that happens. Or at least, I hope so.
I mean, if we get to SkyToss, because for now we're going into Twilight Council, so we'll see what's gonna be the initial attack.
Oh yeah, that's
Strange.
That's a very good point. As you were saying, like, we don't have a Stargate opener here. I mean, to be fair, we are on Lightshade, right? I guess it makes sense that we don't have a Stargate opener. The rush distance by ground is relatively short. I'm also really curious to see what this is for, because there we go. Finally, we have our second gateway. There we go. Our third gateway is thrown down. This should be for Glaives. Oh, there we go.
There it is. Perfect. On point casting.
Yes, we do have Glaives on the way here for Strange. My big question is, and we have to keep an eye on things, is how many gateways are thrown down. At the moment, he's still working with 3 gateways. The more standard timing is to hit with 4. Something else that's interesting to me, though, is that he doesn't have a robo on the way. He's not going to be going across the map with a warp prism.
Yeah, so far it looks like it's just gonna be pure adepts. And considering that Bly actually took the front base, oh no, there's a robo now. But like, considering that Bly took the forward base, it may not be actually... It may be slightly easier to defend, I think, because the third base on the bottom is very, looks farther away.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we'll see. At the moment, I don't believe Bly... Okay, he's going in now. I was like, yo, where's the Overlord Scout? There we go. It is diving into the main base. He will see the Robo. He's going to see the Twilight Council. He sees everything he needs to see. He knows it's going to be Glaive Adepts, especially because he sees the probes on the gases on top of all of this. So, to defend, I mean, mate, we already have a Roach Warden on the way. We already have a decent amount of Lings. He does catch these Adepts as well.
Yeah, Bly does lose a few drones, but that's not the end of the world. And both adepts are down now. And I guess we'll see if this attack will be effective from Strange.
Yeah, I'm still really curious about it because, like, this Robo was late. There's a reason why I assumed there wasn't going to be a Robo, because there's no Warp Prism, and even now it's being delayed. Glaives is done. If he wanted to hit the Glaive timing, like, it would have already gone by now. Like, this is a really quirky timing from Strange. Finally, it's being sent out across the map, but he's just, like, sending it normally.
It
Yeah.
It looks like Bly is expecting a DT follow-up because he made a bunch of spores and is taking up 2 Larry as well.
Yeah.
But there are no DTs. It's just adepts.
Exactly. But again, it's not the most aggressive, the most scary adept pressure, right? Like the adepts, they're here, but there are lings to respond to them, so they're not really going to commit. Would you have 2 adepts, they're going to shade in. Oh, they do commit to the shade. They do get 1 drone, or a couple of drones actually.
Yeah, up to 3, which is pretty good. But still, the adept went down, so I don't think that was the damage Strange was expecting to make.
Yeah, and funnily enough, Strange is playing a little bit strangely. What I will say is that Strange, he didn't commit all his adepts, so he still has them to defend, right? Like, this Ling run by isn't going to do anything here across the map. This Immortal is well defended for now. +1 is on the way, which is a little bit perplexing to me. Typically, when we go for +1, it's lined up with either Charge or Blink Stalkers, right? Like, this pairs well with that. But we don't see that at all here. Like, we just had Glaives, and that's it, and it's kind of hard to glean where Strange wants to go from here, other than make Immortals.
Yeah, he's just making more Immortals. I guess he saw that Bly already tacked up to Roaches, so maybe he just wants to, beef up his Immortals a bit more. But what is gonna support those Immortals? Because this is a decent army for now, but by the time Bly has by the time Bly moves out, he's gonna have much more.
Well, you say that. This is kind of very Soul Train-esque. I love this. He even has like a hallucinated War Prism as well, just to fake the aggression. I mean, he's going to be moving out across the map, and even though there's not a lot of beef to this army, like, it looks very threatening, especially with a War Prism, right? To be fair, he does have a real one.
Yeah, the War Prism is very threatening. He's actually making the real one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of matters on how he uses those sentries that he has, because with sentries you can make some things happen with those Roaches.
You can, but of course we do have Ravagers to respond to that, so Bly does have a good composition ready for this. At the same time, he's going for a little bit of a Ling run by, but the wall is a wall. The Lings don't get too much here.
The wall was a wall.
It was a wall. The Lings, only a handful of them get in. He does get a full scatter for the main base. He will spot this Robotic Spay. +2 is on the way as well. Again, very interesting. He's on top of his upgrades. Oh, the Lings, they try to flood in, but they aren't quite able to. And what's important is that even though Bly is going for a Spire, it was scattered by the hallucinations.
Oh yeah. Those Lings are really trying to get in, but this time the Starker is on point. Doesn't move out from the post. So yeah, where do we go from here? We will go with Colossus versus Lingbane Muta. I guess that works? Question mark?
I'm still waiting for the response to the Mutas. Okay, there we go. So he's going for Blink Stalkers. I would love to see some Archons coming out from Strange, but yeah, at the moment he's just relying on Blink Stalkers for his anti-air. He does have cannons at the natural. He is getting cannons in the main, so he is relatively prepared for this.
Oh, this Warp is trying to find something, but the Queens are there. There are a bunch of spores as well. I noticed that Bly does not skip on the spores, so those will be helpful against Warpies as well if he comes close enough.
Yeah, that they will.
The road run by.
Yeah, this is a bit of a roach run by. It will get cleaned up, doesn't really accomplish too much, but he confirms the army. He confirms that, yes, there are Colossus, not Disruptors or anything like that. So, yeah, Bly, he does have eyes on this, and he's still committing to Ling, Bane, Roach Ravager, which is a solid ground composition, to be fair. And with, like, Mutas on top of this, like, there's still no Archons. Like, there's still no answer to the Mutas.
Snipe the Colossus. Do it.
I mean, at the moment, he just goes for a run by. There's no cannon here, only a shield battery. Damage will be done.
Oh, he just snipes the shield battery first, and he just goes for the probe.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to stop him. The Mutas, they're dealing an insane amount of damage here, even forces a recall.
That's actually surprising to me that he would recall for the Mutas specifically.
I mean, if he didn't, he would have lost everything, right? Like, there's...
Yeah, that's the problem.
Oh my god, the slow banelings!
I feel like those were lost. They're like, hey, hello guys, there was an army here, I heard.
Oh, feels bad, man. They didn't make it in time. Bailing speed is about to finish up though. Meanwhile, the Mutas, they're still kind of uncontested. I mean, there we go. Blink finally finished up. So Strange, he can keep up with these Mutas. He can have a bit of an easier time here. Meanwhile, all the Bailings are getting ready for a run by. Oh, a roll by.
I mean, to be honest, there's less probes there now because some of them were already killed by Mutas, but we'll see what the Bailings can do. Maybe he should like wait for the rest of the workers to transfer.
Maybe. Yeah, the Banelings are rolling on in. They will find some connections. 12 probes go down, and the Mutas also find some workers here at the natural.
Yeah, so far pretty decent damage for Bly, and he's just expanding everywhere. That said, on the other side of the map, in Bly's main, there was something. Oh, this was a scout. Never mind.
Yeah, it was just a hallucination. And they do get cleaned up there, so some nice damage dealt already by Bly. He's well ahead in supply. He's up 200. And again, like, I'm still just not convinced by this army. It's so wonky. Like,
yeah. It's like, yeah. I don't know. Something about Colossus versus Link Bane just doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah,
like, sure, it does a lot of damage, but it's just no.
Yeah, it's just a little bit awkward. I mean, meanwhile, the Mutas, they don't find too much damage, thankfully. You know, Strange is in position to force him back. But what's scary is that Strange is stuck on 3 bases. Like, he just hasn't had a chance to expand. Meanwhile, oh my god, he just keeps taking blow after blow to his economy, and Bly has his entire half of the map.
Yeah, not only is he stuck on 3 bases, he's also being pulled to both sides, while the main army of Bly is just waiting for the opportunity to come in.
Oh god, that he is. And even though Bly isn't finding a way in, again, he's just containing his opponents. Meanwhile, finally, Strange, he does push out into creep, takes out a couple of queens, but he has to be careful. If he goes further, then he's just gonna get surrounded. Oh, speaking of...
Wow. More Banelings. Those crows are really trying to save their life, but it's just more Banelings coming.
Yeah, exactly. The Banelings, they just roll on in. 10 more probes go down. The Mutas, they still try and find a way in, but they don't. And like Bly, he's just been doing the same thing for like the past like 5 or so minutes, and it's working, right? Just keeps distracting the army, just keeps finding ways into that mineral line.
Yeah, like even if the Mutas don't get the workers killed, like it's still the distraction. And as we know, like, you know, attention span is also a resource in this game. Hello there? Turn? Are you lost?
Look, it wouldn't be a ZVP if there wasn't like a weird token swarm host. By the way, it's actually being used.
I've done that. Yeah, I've done that before.
Every Pro Zerg player's done it. Every Pro Zerg player. As the Locusts do come in, as is actually going to deal some damage. At the same time, the Mutas also dive in. But again, this is one of those things where Bly wants to get rid of these Mutas. He made them so long ago, and they just keep getting value, and he isn't remaking them. Like, he's refining his army even further.
Yeah, I mean, those Mutas at the very least cause the fact that, like, Strange has to leave some stalkers behind. But in the meantime, there's this DT trying to snipe on the bases without spores yet.
Yeah, DTs were here towards the north and here at the third base of Bly. 18 drones went down. Finally, Strange has dealt some damage.
Yeah, it's quite significant as well. Like 18 workers is not a small amount, but that said, they are actually kind of equal on worker count.
Yeah, that they are. Meanwhile, god, that's a lot of Link Bane, and the Vipers are getting ready to yoink those Colossus.
It's gonna get sandwiched.
Oh my god.
The force speeds are really nice, but the Zerg army just rolls through them.
Yeah, and what's beautiful is that we did not see the yoinks. Instead, we saw blinding clouds, and they were so well placed there. The Banelings finally roll on in. They clean up whatever they can. All the Colossus go down. Not just the Colossus, but the entirety of the army.
Yeah, there are still some Stalkers left, but I guess the Ravagers should be able to clean them up. The War Piece shows up, it's like, hey guys, what happened?
Yeah, exactly. Like, there are only gateway units remaining. All the high-tech units got cleaned up, and Bly, he's just getting ready for the next wave. To be fair, because of the workers that died earlier, like, his economy isn't amazing. He doesn't have a bank, not anymore, and Strange has an opportunity here. Oh god, but the Banelings finish.
I need to be very careful here. There are a bunch of DTs in this army, but if they just run into Banelings, it's not gonna go too well for them.
Yeah, exactly. The Banelings do crash on in. All the Stalkers get taken out. There is no detection with this army, so the DTs are actually going to get a lot of value, but there we are. No, not quite. But in the end, a bunch of the DTs were cleaned up. There's only a handful of units left, and Bly, mate, he's just gonna chase all this down.
That one DT is just gonna solo the whole army. Nope, never mind.
Meanwhile, okay, actually, interesting choice. Strange was trying to snipe the Overseers, but GG gets called, and Bly takes game number 1.
No, I like it. I think that was interesting to use blinding clouds more so than like the yoinks.
It was good. They were well placed, you know, especially because the army was kind of stuck in an area. He force fielded himself in to the blinding clouds. Like it was beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. Like kind of like you have, you know, people using it on siege tanks because siege tanks are generally immobile. Like the same thing. Like here, like Strange basically walled himself in with those force fields, and most of his army was like stalkers and few colossi. So like all the units that are ranged. So obviously they just shoot from the same place, right? So it was prime position for a blinding cloud.
Yeah. Exactly. And with that, Bly takes the first game. I'm still, I'll be honest, I'm still unconvinced by Strange's army composition and how he got there. It felt kind of awkward. I'm sure maybe that's why he did it as well. Like because it's so awkward. Bly isn't used to that, and he's probably expecting something else, so it kind of puts him off balance. But at the same time, Bly was just so solid overall that it didn't even matter.
Yeah, like you said, like, oh yeah, because Bly is the aggressive player, but this was a pretty solid macro game. Like he was expanding it. I don't think he had a lot of draws. It was decent count, but like it was okay macro game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, like we'll see what Strange has in store for us here. Like that, again, it's something where we don't cast a lot of these European players, and we saw how different, say, Skillus was in PvP, and now we're kind of being, or at least I'm being introduced to Strange a little bit more, and how he approaches this matchup in a completely different way. Is that normal, or was that more of a one-off?
Yeah, what is it about Europe and using Colossus? What is this? But anyway, enough about that, because we are in the next map, or on the next map, which is 2000 Atmospheres, LE. And in the top right corner of this map, we have once again the Ukrainian Zerg player, the red Zerg player, Bly.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of 2000 Atmospheres LE, we have the Russian Protoss player. He is blue, representing himself, as he is teamless. It is Strange.
I wonder how Bly got his name. I don't think I ever heard about the backstory of that.
I'm sure there's an interview somewhere, right? Like Bly has been around for, like, he's in his 30s.
There must be, right?
Yeah, I imagine there is somewhere there. Like he's had plenty of interviews. He's been competing for a very long time, since almost the beginning. If you're in the chat and if you know, tell us.
Yeah, let us know. Maybe I actually know that, but I just don't remember. Like that's a possibility.
Yeah. I will always have a fond place in my heart for Bly. For those wondering, like you can imagine, we came from Crank, aka that's why we're called the Cranky Ducklings. We came from Axiom as a result of that, and as a result of that, we were massive fans of Axiom Acer. And if you remember, Bly back in the day was on Acer alongside players like Paranoid, Innovation, Scarlet, MMA, and as a result, we saw Bly compete a lot in team leagues for Acer. It was great.
I mean, even without that, I like players that are not entirely standard and are generally very like dynamic. So like even based off like games alone, I always enjoyed watching Bly games.
Yeah, definitely. He's a very unique player. Again, one of my favorites out there. One of my favorite foreigners, I should say. Hashtag Bly on fire in the chat. Do they still have that? Is that still a thing? I don't know.
I mean, at this point, it's kind of like the year of Hearthstone, right?
Yeah.
And the year of Probe, and a few other years.
You could argue that Bly on Fire was like before the year of Hearthstone, right? Maybe. Sure. Yeah.
Probably. Maybe.
maybe.
Someone get us on the history of the memes.
Exactly.
But
Meanwhile,
once again, we have the Twilight Council from Strange.
Yeah, going for another Twilight Council opening. Again, he may... Oh my god, the wall's not a wall.
I guess we should be glad that this is at the very beginning of the game, because Strange can actually deal with that, and this is not a lot of Zergling. But Strange, this is not a wall. Yeah, dude. Just careful there.
Yeah, and as a result, these slowlings, they scout everything here in the base. He sees the Twilight Council, he saw it researching as well. Obviously, there's a world out there where it's a fake out, and as soon as the lings die, it's cancelled, and he throws down a Dark Shrine or something crazy like that. But for the most part, yeah, Bly knows exactly what he's up against.
Yeah, I mean, he still can throw a Dark Shrine if he wants to, but obviously, it's not gonna be that quick. But yeah, he fortunately he fixed that wall, so the next run by is not gonna be as successful probably. And he's going for the robot slightly earlier this time, so maybe the Warp Beast will actually join in.
Yeah, this looks like a more standard, especially because we have a couple more gateways on the way. Like, this looks a little bit more standard to me. I feel like we should probably see another gate though, like, you know, 4 gate claves with the Warp Prism. It makes sense to me. But we'll see. We'll see, because it's strange we're talking about.
Are you saying his builds are strange?
Yo, can I wake up Yaku again? Can I bring him back? Can I? Oh god.
This is what you get.
Aye. Meanwhile, Overlord comes in, he confirms the production, he sees the robotics facility there, and yeah, so far nothing being produced. Like, this is what I mean. Again, just like last time, this is 3 gates. Like, there's no big commitment into those glaive adepts like we normally see, and he's just sending it across the map.
This time the attack is slightly earlier though, I feel, so maybe it will be actually more successful, but definitely this is not like the end game idea of Strange. Like, there is a plan to move forward after this.
I'm not maybe.
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 I mean, look, he made a forge. He will be getting upgrades, so he doesn't expect to end the game now. I
feel like I have to ask: is this more common in the European meta? Like, this is the first time I'm seeing like a Protoss player go for this, right? Where they go for glaive adepts in the beginning, but there's only 3 gateways, and then they go into immortal production with +1, and then later on, far later on, they end up getting their blink. All this with no Warp Prism. Like, it's yeah, it's interesting.
I feel like the no Warp Prism is the most like weird to us, I guess, because there's no support for those adepts.
Oh, it's not just that. It's like you committed into all these adepts, right? And we didn't really see anything come of it. I guess you could argue the goal is to force a reaction from Bly, and it did force a reaction, right? Because of that, he stopped drone production. He went into all these lings and roaches and ravagers. Speaking of, there's a lot of roaches and ravagers and lings. But so
yeah, as soon as he saw the Twilight Council, he just instantly flopped the roach one, and maybe even earlier than that. Like, Bly knew that something is coming.
Yeah. So I guess that is definitely something you accomplish. And this follow-up push, it can hit hard, right? Like, especially because of how early the Immortal production started, and you have all these sentries to back you up as well. So we'll see what Strange can accomplish with this. It is still a little bit scary because there's no Warp Prism.
It is scary, but that said, Bly actually doesn't have that much of an army right now. He's still making the roaches, he's making the ravagers. There's a lot of Zerglings, so Strange has to be careful with the Zerglings.
That's what I mean. Like, there were plenty of Zerglings, nice force field, but yo, the Bile's in the center. Aye.
Not enough.
Oh, mate, one more Bile. Look at how low this army is. Look at it.
Yeah, and since this is a Protoss, like, this is a damage you're not gonna like fix or repair. Like, those units are now prime snipe targets.
Exactly, and that's what I was worried about that move out. Like, again, without a Warp Prism, you lack any kind of micro potential to keep these units alive. We saw the immediate surround, we saw the Biles in the juicy center of that army. I mean, thankfully, Strange, he kept a lot of his army alive. Just barely alive, and that's all that matters here.
Yeah, but now Bly is moving to the next phase of like pulling Strange apart from 2 directions. There's a runby in the north, there's a main army on the east. And we're gonna see if Strange can move like efficiently enough to defend both.
Yeah, he's getting pulled apart a little bit. He does defend on both fronts though, only losing a couple of workers. It's not the biggest of deals. Meanwhile, Bly is forced all the way back, and once again, he wants to go into those mutas.
Oh yeah. That was interesting. But yeah, like, it seems like mutas have been much more common like in the recent days. Especially, like, I mean, I don't want to say especially against Protoss, but like back in the day, mutas against Protoss were considered weird, and now not so much.
I mean, Spire play nowadays in CVP is definitely an option. It's not necessarily crazy to do something like that. Meanwhile, the army is here for Strange, pushing in towards his base, and Bly, he just gives it up. He immediately evacuates.
Oh, the drones, are they gonna escape? And they did.
Yeah, exactly. The base will fall. Again, this is a very strong army, especially with all of these sentries. Again, if one more bile had hit, like the sentry count would have been cut in half, but it's all here, and Strange takes the base.
In the meantime, Bly tried to run by the third base of Strange, but there are some adepts that like almost found those banelings, but I guess that we will see some rollings later.
Yeah, we will, and there's nothing here, like there's no, there we go, finally some side defenses being set up, but the banelings, they finish up, they are waddling in.
Never mind.
Bly, he just realized that he didn't have baneling speed. There we go, baneling speed is now on the way, but they waddle in.
Oh, there are so many probes here.
Ooh.
I would say this is not as bad as it could have been, but it was still quite a bit of damage.
Oh yeah, that was well worth it for Bly. Like trading banelings like that, getting probes, getting even some adepts towards the end. Like Strange, he's in a really rough position here. Meanwhile, Bly, mate, he's sitting back. I mean, sure, his upgrades are a little bit late, but he's given enough time to breathe to get them up and running.
Yeah, and he look at the bases of the mini map. Like Bly is already expanding to his 5th when Strange is still stuck on 3 bases. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. We'll see if Bly will contain him as much this game.
I mean, what I will say is that this is necessary for Bly. He lost his 4th base, if you recall, and being stuck on 3 bases, like equal bases with the Protoss, is terrifying. So double expanding from here makes sense. Bly needs to keep these bases up and running. He needs to get them saturated again, otherwise he will be left behind.
Those banelings are trying to sneak by, but they are being found out, and this will not be a run by.
Yeah, it does get shut down. Meanwhile, Bly is on the other side of the map looking to try and find a way in. Strange doesn't see this at all, by the way, does not see the army movement. And Bly does.
Yeah, Bly had his link on the watchtower, so he knows exactly where Strange's army is, and he's gonna be prepared, but he may have to sacrifice the top base.
Yeah, feels bad, man. This base is so exposed. But if this goes down, at least he was able to expand and take another base behind this. But it is not saturated, and in comes Strange. Oh.
The force speed are good, but no, it's protecting for now. There are no Vipers yet, so there are no blinding clouds this time.
Yeah, the force fields are honestly amazing, but it looks like every single sentry went down. The Lingbane rushes in, it crashes with the Gateway army, and the majority of the Stalkers go down, and now the Immortals are exposed. But is there enough here for Bly to keep going? Oh my god.
Ravagers are good, but they're pretty squishy, and there are still some Immortals left over, and Stalkers doing damage in the base itself.
Yeah, I mean, these Stalkers have got to be cleaned up. What's important is that behind all of this, we had another baneling run by, hit this 3rd base. Almost every single probe went down. Now Strange, he's still down in workers. Bly got his 4th base up and running, and after all of that, after losing all those sentries, Strange, he's forced back.
But he is. Thermal Lance is still being... This War Piece is really trying to get something, but Bly has an eyes on this. And
yeah.
Nice.
That he does. This War Prism, I mean, what it's doing is it's keeping Bly busy, right? Like, he has to stay at home, he has to respect this War Prism because of the threat that it poses.
Yeah, basically, like, kind of a little bit like what Bly did last game, right? Where he just kept, like, doing these small attacks that didn't necessarily do a lot of damage, but they pulled the attention of Strange. And there is another run by being prepared.
Yeah, that there is. Yeah, there is a main army here, so this run by isn't going to find too much damage whatsoever. Thankfully, this time Strange is ready for it. He does have his army, he does protect his 3rd. Now he's looking to try and expand and take a 4th. And that's a little bit scary. Finally, that Spire is being utilized, by the way. Finally, we have some mutas.
Oh yeah, that we do. And more Colossi on the way. How will Colossi do versus mutas? We don't know. Oh, the War Piece is found out. It's gonna get sniped.
Yeah, the War Prism will get shut down. Now Bly does not have to worry about any kind of War Prism, about any kind of harassment in his bases. He can breathe easy. And now the mutas can go across the map. To be fair though, the mutas were revealed, so Strange is getting ready at home with his stack defense. Yeah,
there will be cannons, there will be stalkers ready. But Blight doesn't have to go with the Mutas right now. He may just like, you know, keep them around as a potential threat, just like the War Priest before.
Exactly. That he can. Meanwhile, we do have a transition into that Infestation Pit. This will be for Hive, this will be for Vipers, just like we saw in the previous game, and also for that Token Swarm Host.
Of course. That's the important part.
You can't forget. You can't forget.
I mean, it did so much damage last time.
He got some probe kills. Did happen.
Did it kill a single probe? I don't think it did, actually.
It did. The Locust did, at least. Meanwhile, we have another Bathing run by Yo. The army's completely out of position, so not just the Bathings, but the Mutas are going to get some damage here.
The Bathings actually sniped the pylon, so the cannon is not powered, so Mutas can just snipe all of these probes.
Oh my god. And sure, there are Stalkers here, but the Mutas, they dive from the third into the main. Going to pick up a couple of pylons here as well, just keeping Strange busy.
Oh, he's actually focusing the Stalkers. I mean, why not if you have the numbers?
Yeah. I mean, there just aren't enough Stalkers to deal with this. The Stalkers are going down, as we were talking about earlier, like there's no Archons here, like there's no hard counter to the Mutas, so they just run free.
They do. There's still a cannon here, but they snipe the cannon, but I don't think they can stay here much longer. The Stalkers are coming back.
Yeah, sure, but honestly, mate, these Mutas have paid for themselves. They just keep getting more Stalkers. They pick off a Sentry as well. Oh my god.
Yeah, those are some quality Mutas, and now they can just hide around here and wait for the army to forget about them.
Exactly. And meanwhile, back at home, we've just been seeing a mass amount of Banelings being warped in. We have +2 on the way, because why the hell not? Hive, I believe, is... No, we don't have Hive yet. We do have the Infestation Pit. I'm sure we're going to have Hive shortly here, as Bly is just taking his entire half of the map.
Oh yeah. There are more Banelings running here, but they're not gonna find much damage this time. But I will say, I really enjoyed that scene where, like, normally you have the Banelings from one side, Mutalics from the other side, but this time they worked together, and it actually worked out perfectly. I think it was a beautiful attack.
Oh yeah, it was great. It was beautiful. Meanwhile, the Mutas, mate, they're coming back in. Oh god. And they do just barely escape the main army. They find their way into the main, and once again, there's nothing in the main. And Strange, he has had enough. He is pulling the trigger.
Oh yeah. I mean, he can't be everywhere, so instead he's just gonna take the fight to Bly.
Oh yeah,
There's
exactly.
so many sentries in this army.
Yeah, like the force field potential here is absolutely insane. He has so much energy for force fields. Oh my god, the biles!
He has to be very careful. I mean, those sentries can get sniped pretty easy, and there's so many Banelings here.
Yeah, that there are. The Banelings are rolling on in. Can they get on top of the sentries? They cannot.
This time, this composition actually works, I guess because of the numbers, where like he force fields all the Banelings into a choke, and then the Colossi just do the rest.
What I pose a question to you though, like what happens if these Mutas come home? Like they kill everything. Like sure, they're Blink Stalkers, but they're not ideal. They're +2 Blink Stalkers.
I mean, the Mutas are busy killing buildings on the other side of the map. It's gonna take them a while to come back.
They are, to be fair. Yeah. Meanwhile, again, the force fields are on point. The Banelings are rushing on in. Yo, the Banelings are actually getting closer to those sentries. Oh my god.
Strange is playing with fire here, but as you said, like at the same time as he's attacking here, the Mutas are wreaking havoc at home.
Yeah,
so this is all for nothing.
I'm just waiting for the Mutas to come back home, honestly, because Strange, he is pushing through. He's actually dealing with the main army because of the force fields. But again, there's not a lot that shoots up. Like, I feel like if these Mutas did come home, like, Bly would shut this down.
Actually, probably, yeah. I mean, there was more Stalkers on the beginning, but a lot of them actually died to Banelings. So right now, those Mutas could clean up this army. It would take them a while, but they could.
They definitely could, but they're still here across the map. They're being left a little bit idle. I guess he could try and go for elimination, but there we go. He does turn around. I love this. Let's go, Mutas. Let's see if there is enough here to clean up the army of Strange.
Yeah, they're gonna deal with this small... The drones killed the Immortal. Guys, did you just see that? Drones killed the Immortal. That's all I have to say.
And here we go. Mutas are diving into the main base. So again, there are a lot of sentries. They do shoot up, I guess, but here come the Mutas.
Yeah, they are sniping all the Stalkers first, and then the Vipers are here to pull the Colossi. And this should be cleaned up by Bly, right?
Yeah, I don't think the Vipers were necessary there, or the Yoinks, I should say, were necessary, but regardless, everything's gonna get cleaned up. There was not enough anti-air. The Mutas destroy, they decimate the army of Strange. There is nothing left here. There are a couple of Stalkers coming across the map, but nowhere near enough, and GG gets called.